Good morning, YouTube. This morning I'm just going to take a few minutes to walk you through what you actually need to get into investing in assets and rental properties and real estate and things. And so I want you to clear your head a little bit and forget what you think that you need based on what people that don't do it have told you. And I want you to get in your mind that there's three things that you need actually to get down the path to have real estate and other investments, and that there's also some things in your mind that have to change in order to enable you to do this. And those things are the things that actually have to happen. And the reason people don't do it is because they don't know what those things are. And sometimes they end up having investments in real estate and things because they fell into it or they got lucky by changing their mindset. But that's not usually the case, and that's why most people are not in this. So let me switch over here because we're just going to write them down as we say. And the first thing that you need, I would say, we'll put right here, is cash flow. Now, what is cash flow? Cash flow is just money that is there for this purpose every month. So you have a job. Many people will say, well, I don't have any money. Like a nickel, $1, $5, $10. I didn't tell you how much you needed. If you say you don't have any cash flow to do this, then you're just making excuses, which is fine, but realize they are. And so cash flow would be, let's say it's $500 a month. But let's not start at $500 because there's no number. Let's start at $100 a month. And so the way you can create cash flow is you have $100 a month and deposit to your brokerage account, which doesn't exist yet because you don't know what to have it. The prerequisite for this cash flow is knowing you need cash flow. So either you have to convince yourself or someone has to tell you, but you have to know you need cash flow to create cash flow. If you have no cash flow today, meaning you have no job and no income and you're not paying for your food or things like that, then I guess you're just out of luck because it doesn't come out of thin air. But if you do have a job and you say, I still don't have any cash flow, then you're just fooling yourself, because even if you don't have $100 a month, you've got $5 a month. And even if you have $0 a month, you don't have a brokerage account yet. So you haven't even started down the path, and these are steps you have to take. And so cash flow is number one. And before that is knowing you need cash flow. Now, number two is you need cash. Or we're going to say capital. Okay? Now, I didn't tell you how much capital you needed. Right? And so in your head you think, a house costs $250,000 or $200,000. That's the much capital I need. I didn't tell you that. Someone else told you that. Do they have properties? Are they in investments? I would say that that information is false. And we're going to move this down here because there's a few things in here that we're going to do to create this capital. Now, number one, if you have $100 a month deposited in a brokerage account, then after 1 month you have, up to 4 months you have $400. Okay? And after 12 months, a year, you have $1,200. So if you tell me, I've been doing this for 12 months, I would say you have $1,200 in your account. And if you don't have $1,200 in your account, then you haven't been doing it. And so, realize the things that you're doing and not doing. Don't fool yourself. Understand where you are. And so we're going to put this here. And the thing we're going to do different than this $1,200 is we are going to default invest this in something like VIG or VOO. So this $100, this $1,200 automatically is in this default growth mechanism of stocks, and it's $1,200 and it's growing every month because we're putting $100 in there. And now this is your capital. Okay, so now we have $1,200 capital. Now, the third thing that you need is a deal. Okay? Now, how do you find a deal? How do you know what a deal is? How do you know the characteristics of the deal? Is before you find the deal, you have to learn to find a deal. And before you learn to find a deal, you have to learn what a deal is. Okay? So you have to know what it is in order to find it, in order to have the deal. Okay? So I'll give you some characteristics of what a deal is. Okay? A deal has a moat. A deal has a moat, which is a price advantage. Okay? So if a house is worth, an example, $200,000, okay, it's selling for $200,000. That's not a deal. Okay, it's just a house. If the house is worth $200,000 and it's selling for $210,000, right? Not a deal either. So a house would be, a deal would be a house that's worth $200,000 and it's selling for $185,000. Now, some prerequisites for knowing these things is knowing value of a house. If that's the thing that you're going to get into, knowing the value of it. For my first house, it was next to some friends of mine, and so I knew what their house was worth. So I had this automatically, just because they lived there. I thought about that sort of stuff, and so I knew this price advantage. I knew what a deal looked like because I'd just been to Warren Buffett's meeting, and he talks about what a deal is. Now, when you talk about finding a deal, one of the aspects of a deal is if you find a deal on Dr. Pepper, that is not going to get you where you want to go with investing. Okay? So when you find a deal, your ultimate goal is to buy an asset. I think it's just one T. Okay? It's to buy an asset. Now, if we take this down here, and we say, you have cash flow to get your capital, to find a deal, to buy an asset. What's the prerequisite for buying an asset? Let's see. You have to know what an asset is. Now, if you believe that you know what an asset is today, and you are wrong, or your definition is based on the wrong people, then you might go through the cash flow and the capital and find the deal and buy what you think is an asset and end up with a piece of land, 2 acres, for 10 years that you're just waiting on going up in value. That might be what you have, and all this is tied up in that. I see lots of people tied up in things that they're waiting on going up in value. But let's define a little bit about what an asset is. An asset is something that pays you to own it. Okay? So if you think about everything that you have and you ignore the definition of people that don't do these things, what do you have that pays you to own it? What do you have that puts money in your pocket if you lose your job? Okay, so these are not saying good things and bad things. These are saying assets, okay? So, does your car put money in your pocket? No, not an asset. Does your house? No, not an asset. Does your jewelry? No. Does a piece of land? No. Okay? Now, we can talk about what you're looking for when you talk about, pays it and how to think about this. But something pays you to own it. A stock will pay you to own it, pay you a dividend. A house will pay you to own it, pay you rent. So those type of things. This is how you think about it. Something that pays you to own it is an asset. That's essentially what you're looking to acquire. Now, one thing I'll tell you about an asset that I tell my kids is that you are looking for a trickle. Okay? Now, one of the mistakes people make when they're looking for an asset, once they realize what an asset is they're looking for a large amount of money coming out of that asset. They're looking for, I want a 14%. I want this thing to make me rich overnight. And that's not what you're looking for. What you're looking for is a trickle. Okay? It's not a dam, a trickle. A small amount of money that comes out of this thing continually is what you're looking for. Because you're trying to get an asset with a trickle, an asset with a trickle, an asset with a trickle through this process. And so we're going to put that. You're looking for a trickle in this asset. Trickle coming out. Now, you could argue that you're looking for a lot of stuff going out. You could argue that an asset is a car or different things that you use. You could say the extra definition. But all those ways of thinking about this will not lead you to the right results that you're looking for. And so the way you think about an asset must be, I don't know if the word is correct, because really if you want to not have money, not have income and things like that, you can think of an asset however you want. You can look at the dictionary definition. You can be right. You can have the ego, you can have the chip on your shoulder and be right. But if you think of it in this way, then you will get the result that you want. And to me, it's more about the result than the chip or the ego. And so I think the word correct is aligned. Okay. So let's just talk about, the asset definition you're using has to be aligned with the outcome you're looking for. Outcome you're looking for is a trickle. Okay? Does this asset create a trickle? If the answer is yes, it's an asset. If the answer is no, it's not an asset. So the way you think about it is you look and you say, is this an asset? I'm looking for a trickle. If there's no trickle, no asset. Second, is it a good price? I don't know. Is there a moat or a price advantage in buying this? If a house is worth $200,000 and you buy it for $200,000, okay, because you say a house is a good thing, then you did not get a price advantage. There was no reason to do that transaction. And so, number one, you're looking for a trickle to identify the asset. Number two, you're looking for the deal with the moat, and you're going to buy it with a moat. So you can buy an asset with a trickle with a moat. You're going to use this capital, and how much capital you have defines how big a deal you can do. How big of deal. Okay? Now, how big a deal can you do? So if you're at $1,200, there's certain size deals that you can do. And there's opportunities in these size deals that we could talk about. And as it gets bigger, there are bigger opportunities. And so you might see, for instance, in examples, a house for $250,000. Let's say a house I bought the other day. I found a house, $250K value, selling for, well, I made him offer $230K. Okay. And so you look at this and you say, okay, it's a house, $270,000, selling for $230K. Does it have a moat? Yes. Okay. We're talking about how big a moat it has, but is it a deal? Yes, it has a moat. Okay. Does it create a trickle? Yes. It is an asset. So if you look at this deal, you say, is it an asset? Yes. Does it have a moat? Yes, it's a deal. Now the next situation is, am I positioned to buy it? Do I have the capital and the cash flow? Now, if you're looking at buying something like this, depending on how you're trying to do it, if you're trying to do it cash, which I wouldn't do it first, it's going to be difficult, because part of the deal here is because you don't have to go through banks and things like that sometimes, or you did it on the back end, or you did equity something on your house or whatever. But is the capital. So what you really need in capital is you need You need 230. Maybe you need, let's say, 25,000. Maybe more. Maybe 50. And if let's just, for argument's sake, let's say you need 50,000. Okay, to do a deal like this, and you say, well, I'm not positioned for that. Then you take your dollars per month here, and let's say this is 100 that you're putting in, and you say this divided by this. All right, we're just going to divide it into years, and you say 41 years from now. No, I don't care about how many years from now, but there's a number of years. 41 years from now, I can do this deal. Okay. Now, that would not seem discouraging, but let's take this number and let's lower it to 0, like you're at today. Well, then you can never do the deal, right? So once this number of what's going in this account exists, it's going to a place you're not touching it. It's going into some growth thing that's going to keep up with inflation. Then you have a number here. So your first objective is to create this system. Okay, the objective is not to make the system good or optimize the system. The objective is to create the system. So you have something here, and so you have something here, and so there's some type of deal that you can take and take advantage of, and this is how you start. Did I start with these capital deals being houses? Well, no, I didn't start. I started with them being insurance. X amount of capital I have, and now I can raise my deductible on my house. And the deductible on my house is higher. Now this goes to 200 because now I'm saving money on my deductible. This number here, oh look, it went down. This number here gets more, and I can raise my deductible on my car. Well, what happens if I have a problem? Well, then you're going to use some of your cash to fix that thing, possibly. But up front, you save the money, and because you save the money, you put it in this account, right? And so you might be using portions of this capital in deals, right? The deals may just not be traditional. Maybe you invest your time and you replace your own hot water heater. Now, hot water heater replacements can charge and cost between $500 and $5,000, depending on how you do it. And so if you save $1,000, then put $1,000 in your capital account as if you paid for it, right? Raise your capital account. Once your capital account goes up, then the more deals you can possibly find, and you get to the point that you're in the ballpark for something like this, right? And so that's how it works, and that's how you walk through the process from the place that you are to the place that you want to be. Now, if you say, money's not important to me, my argument regarding that would be, why do you spend so much time at work then? Because if it's not, you should probably quit your job or work for free. But we each spend, 40, 50, 60 hours a week at work making money and doing that job. And so if it's not important, I'm not sure why we're spending so much time on it. Now, what you might mean by it's not important is there are other things that are more important, which is true. There's lots of other things more important. But it doesn't mean it's not as important as it is. It doesn't mean it doesn't put food on your table or things like that, right? But most of the times, when I've looked at people's decision process on money's not important, some people make wise decisions with it, and their most critical decisions in their life aren't based on money. They're based on their values and their morals and those things. But other people, might say the same thing, and then they get down to, where does their son go to school, and they say, well, this is the only one I can afford. And the critical decisions are based on money. And so you have to think, if your critical decisions are based on money, maybe it is the most important thing to you. And to me, it's not. To me, systems and those things are set up so that money doesn't have to be the most important thing to you. That you can make decisions that do not optimize the money when they're important to do that. And so, anyway, I'll talk to y'all later. Hope this helps you know how to walk through the process and know what the steps are, and I will talk to you later. Bye.